you so much for joining us this evening for the Vaping and Teens 101 webinar. My name is Emily Justice, and I am the Tobacco Use Prevention Education Manager with the Contra Costa County Office of Education. I am excited to be here with you this evening. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of it with us tonight. Tobacco Use Prevention Education, or TUPE for short, is a program with the Student Programs Department at the Contra Costa County Office of Education. Our goal is to prevent and reduce tobacco use among young people, and this includes the most popular tobacco products on the market, e-cigarettes and vape pens, which is what we're going to be talking about this evening. Our county office TUPE team provides technical assistance to school districts to develop and implement effective, comprehensive tobacco education programs. Our team works alongside all 18 school districts in the county, as well as charter schools, and we also provide direct services to our own county office programs. We partner with hundreds of adults and young people each year, including district administrators, site-level TUPE coordinators, curriculum instructors, intervention providers, community partners, and hundreds of student peer educators. And this is all to implement effective, comprehensive TUPE programs across the county. Before we begin, I would like to review just a few logistics. So you probably already noticed that this presentation is being recorded. However, all attendees are automatically muted and you are not on video. So you fortunately or unfortunately do not have a starring role with us this evening. The webinar recording will be made available to everyone via email following the presentation. So you will have access to all of the information and resources that are shared tonight, and it will be posted on our website as well. We ask that you please utilize the Q&A box to submit any questions. We will monitor the Q&A throughout the webinar, and we also have some time set aside after the presentation to respond to any questions. We appreciate those of you who submitted questions during the registration process. We have included responses to many of those questions within the presentation itself. We will utilize the polling feature, which will allow us to gather anonymous feedback from all of you, and we ask that you please participate if you are able to do so. We will also provide some key resource links via the chat box and at the end of the webinar. These resources will also be sent out in the follow-up email. Lastly, you will have the option to respond to a quick survey when you leave the webinar. We take your feedback very seriously, so we hope that you'll take a few minutes to provide that feedback. Now I have the honor of introducing tonight's presenters. First up will be Derek Kirk, who is one of our two TUPE Youth Development Specialists. Our TUPE Youth Development Specialists train and support hundreds of middle school and high school students each year, who then apply their new knowledge and skills to go on and educate their school communities about the dangers of tobacco and inspire others to make healthy decisions. We are grateful to have Derek on our team and presenting this evening. We also have the privilege of being joined by not one, not two, but three amazing members of our Contra Costa County Courage Youth Health Coalition. They are Ahana, Sharus, and Mina. Courage Youth Health Coalition is a youth-centered and directed group that plays a leadership role in addressing health-related issues. The 34 current members represent communities and schools across Contra Costa County. We value young people as partners in prevention and feel fortunate to have them here this evening as they share their experience and expertise. Again, thank you all for joining us this evening, and now on to the presentation.
All right. Thank you for a wonderful intro and us in the TUPE team and everybody on the squad. We got Courage here, which is some phenomenal young people I have the privilege of working with and seeing them do awesome work throughout the county. I'm here to step in and guide the conversation as we're looking at the newest products that are out there, the things that we're seeing showed up in the county. Our program operates through all 11 districts, and in it I see quite a bit. So I'm going to share information based upon statistics as well as what's taking place in Contra Costa County. So what we'll cover for tonight, we're going to look at the rates of tobacco use among young people. We're going to look at the e-cigarettes and vape pens and the impact on the young people as well. And we're going to touch on the adolescent brain development, how nicotine, tobacco, vaping products affect our young people. And then we're going to look at the comprehensive tobacco prevention programs that we offer through the county. And then we're going to end with some tips and resources. So as we cover everything, get you some information, we're going to supply you with what you can do when you're working with your own young people. If you're a parent, if you're a staff member on a campus, these are tips that'll help you be able to navigate sometimes those uncomfortable conversations when we're talking about vaping. So yeah, let's kick this in. So as we're starting off, we kind of want to get like a baseline of what people know or understand when it comes to vaping, tobacco, and such. So I'm going to launch a poll real quick, and if you can, just answer this quick question: which tobacco product is used most by California young people? Okay, which one's used most by California young people? I'm gonna launch the poll now. There we go. Take a couple seconds and answer that question for us, please. Which tobacco product is used most by California young people? These answers flying in kind of quickly. I think we already assume and know this based upon the content of the webinar. So I was hoping see if we are going to catch anybody slipping, but all right. I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll now. And looking at this, it looks like you all are pretty much correct there. Yes, vaping and electronic smoking, those are the number one products that young people are using. And this is what we're teaching on. This is what we cover. This is the main focus of when we're doing TUPE because it's the most prevalent. Young people aren't being caught doing, they're not being caught with cigarettes or little cigars anymore. They're being, can't, oh, sorry. Somebody said they can't hear sound anymore. I'm muted. Can you still hear me? People still hear me? Okay, thumbs up. Sorry, I saw it in the chat. If I'm not, somebody will let me know. Yeah, so in this, we have to cover that based upon what we're seeing young people use. Cigarettes, little cigars, they're not in the hands of young people anymore. They got the understanding that tobacco and all those things are bad, so they know not to go towards that. But when it comes to vaping, it's a different landscape. It's been normalized, it's been made okay. And so this is where the brunt of our communication is, and this is where we push into to teach our young people. So, in that, um, I want to give a statistic, a baseline of what it looks like nationally. So when we're talking about tobacco products, you have e-cigs, you got cigars, you got cigarettes, little cigars, hookah, and such. All of those products are still being used, but as you can see from this graph, the most prevalent is vaping. E-cigarettes is the number one product that young people are using. This is what we're catching teens with in middle school and high school. And as we continue to go along this landscape of vaping, we got to address this on a continual basis because this is something that they're using most often. So, and we're looking during the pandemic, we actually had a positive. We weren't able to do our polls, our surveys within the county because the students were, of course, in social distancing. So we took our numbers from a national outlook and we found that the numbers went down during the pandemic. We're like, woohoo, let's go. Kids aren't vaping, they're not addicted anymore. We're celebrating it. So that dip was a celebration point. And our goal is, as we're back going back to school as usual, regular, we want to keep those numbers going down in that trend. The positiveness of young people not using or stepping into cessation groups, brief intervention, deciding that they don't want to use anymore. We want to keep that trend going. So, good vibes, folks. Put out good vibes on that one. And so when we're looking in the county in Contra Costa, the numbers are lower as well. Seventh grade middle schoolers who said they're currently vaping, numbers down to 3%. And then we also, from our checks data, look at ninth and 11th grade. Those numbers are also down. So this is a positive. We're like, woohoo, yay, go Contra Costa. I wish I had some confetti to throw in the air. I would just like sprinkle it. I wouldn't do it in my own house, but y'all get it virtually. Um, this is a positive. This is what we're celebrating. So hopefully, as I said, the goal is to keep the information coming, prevention flowing, everything so we can maintain that these numbers decrease because smoking in general with tobacco has come down over the years. So in that, we like to hear from our young people to get an understanding of what they're seeing because I can show you data all day, but having the eyes and ears and experience of our young people is critical. So I'm going to pull in our first panel question from our first Courage member. We have the liberty of the phenomenal, intelligent, well-spoken. I want to be like her when I grow up. Nina is going to answer our first question. Our question is, Nina, from your perspective, How has youth use of tobacco and cannabis changed during the pandemic? How is it now that you've returned back to school? How does that landscape look for you now?
So I feel like with the pandemic, it came an increase of tobacco and cannabis. It gave a lot of people easier access and options because many kids had nothing to do at home, so most went to go smoke or vape to entertain time. And it was also much easier to get. So like now we have like ways to buy it online and without any ID needed or like any questions. And COVID made everything accessible, so that was one of the hugest things. And kids are able to buy vape and cannabis products with the click of their fingers, so they don't have any repercussions. It's like not easy to get caught, and they don't need anyone with them. And the pandemic also took a huge toll on many kids' mental health.
Mm,
So when their mental health isn't as good as it is, they go to stuff like tobacco and cannabis to try and fix it. It led them to feel more isolated, and it gave them anxiety, which they thought they could fix with the substance abuse. Now that we've returned to school, I'm seeing an increase with a lot of kids since they have products that I didn't know were accessible to them, and they're trying new things. Like even though it's vaping, most of them are trying more stronger things and bigger vapes. There's certainly an increase in kids who use it, especially in school bathrooms. That's where I see it most, especially since I go to school that's kind of small. I don't really see like stuff like weed or stuff like that, but vaping is a huge thing right now. Thank you.
mm. So the stress, anxiety, and such. I guess you said that said the uptick, which is true from what we've seen nationally. The number one reason why young people are vaping now, it changed during the pandemic. It went from flavors, and now it's more leaning towards stress, anxiety, depression. So okay, so we're seeing that locally. Thank you for sharing it. And Mina, she's in East County, so she's seeing that from that lens. And I can say it's true from what I've experienced talking to Central County, South County students, they're seeing the same trend go across. So thank you for sharing that. It gives us understanding and how we can better support our young people for sure. Those services that we want to get into their hands so they won't have to battle with that and wrestle. Okay, thanks, Mina. So in this, I want to do a little practice, a little trial to see what it looks like. These products change shape, size, content, all of it. Like feels like weekly. I got to do updates and I got to look YouTube tutorials up and talk to young people. I got to snoop these things out. So, as a parent, sometimes it's not as apparent. What I did there, little fun. Okay, it's not always easy to identify these products. So, real quick, this is a picture of your average young person's desk. I want you to take note. Count how many vaping or e-cig or electronic devices. Take a quick minute to count how many you see on that desk. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I think I got enough post set up for this. Um, See how many you see on the desk, and tally that. See if you're accurate. Let's see if people are strong with this one. If the force is strong with you. The last one was a pretty easy one. So, how many products do you think you see on this desk that are vaping related? Is it five? Is it six? Seven? Is it eight? What are we looking at? Oh, numbers a little all over the place. Okay, all right. Now we get into the nitty gritty. Give a couple more seconds. So, all right, if you're scratching your head, don't feel bad. If I wasn't in a Tupi world, there's a lot of things I wouldn't be made aware of. There's things I was guessing at, and this is why we do the education and teach on it because we need to get you informed. You gotta have the breakdown. Okay, I'll give a couple more seconds. All right. Okay, and close it in three, two. All right, okay. All right, well, I'll show the results. It looks like we're kind of up and down there, folks. Not as confident as question number one. I know I got to make it a little bit more difficult for you. But also, we got to do what the youth do. They have products that are not easy to detect. Some people said it was five, six, seven, eight. Looks like most of you rested with five. The actual number of products that are sitting on this desk for you is like seven. Sorry, I was about to say eight. Seven products. And as you can see, they blend in. They look very much like the other products that a normal young person would have in their pencil case or sitting on their desk. Sometimes they mimic and look like earbuds case or highlighters. If you look at number one, that's actually a wax pen, and then you have number three, which looks like the whiteout eraser thing. These are things that young people have around, and we have to be mindful of them because they blend in so well. And that's why I do get a lot of confiscated items from the sites I go to. And in it, I show and model and teach parents and staff what it looks like and to be mindful of because these things are out there. And if you want to do this activity on your own, Chelsea just shared in the chat a link to the website where you can kind of just, gag your friends. See if there's other parents who aren't here tonight, if they can pass that, see if they can catch all 7. But those are what those products look like. And so we're going to delve into them this evening so you can get an understanding of what's in the hands of young people. Okay. So moving on, ultimately, when it comes to e-cigs, vaping products, the components are pretty much the same. They just change depending on the company, size, kind of thing. So all of them are equipped with a battery. There's no fire, there's no combustion, there's actually no physical tobacco in vaping products. So the battery is the energy source that heats up the device. It heats it up to a high degree, but it doesn't burn. The battery heats up what's called an atomizer, which essentially is like a coil, and wrapped around it or underneath it is usually a cotton. And this cotton absorbs a chemical called e-liquid. So essentially all they did was took nicotine, a bunch of other chemicals from tobacco, and they put it together and you have this liquid concoction. Like I said, it's only made up about 6 or 7 chemicals together, and that's what's in these vaping products. So there's no physical tobacco, but the nicotine that comes from tobacco is in it, and we know nicotine is the most addictive, one of the most addictive chemicals on the planet. So you have nicotine that's in this liquid inside the products. Now, depending on the design, the cartridge is like a tank. It holds the liquid either on the inside or outside, depending on what kind of product you have. And ultimately, what we have to express to young people in great detail, it is not vapor. It is not water. It is not smoke. It's an aerosol. So when you're inhaling from these devices, you're pulling in nanoparticles of chemicals that are attached in water, some water plus a bunch of other chemicals. That's what makes it an aerosol. So when you think about aerosol, cologne, perfume, Febreze, spray paint, spray on deodorant, those are all aerosols. So we usually do a demonstration where we'll spray a can of hairspray in the air and spritz some water from a shooting Spencer. We'll spray it in the air, and the young people can see the similarities in them, but you can smell from the hairspray the chemicals that are still there. And so we want to make that very clear when we talk to our young people, because the outlook is that the norm is that this is safer. This is safe or completely safe in contrast to tobacco when it's not. You're pulling in nanoparticles of chemicals that reside in your lungs. And then one of those chemicals, or some of them, are metals. Nanoparticles of metals are coming off that coil and atomizer. So even if you put water in there, just pulling on it, inhaling from it, and heating it up, nanoparticles of metal are coming off that coil and get into the aerosol. So we know long term, short term is not good for a person's body. And so we teach young people to be mindful. It's not safe as they try to project it to be. So over time, the products have changed, and we just do a quick walkthrough. I don't stay here long because they change so often that if I sat and hovered on one, you'd be like, oh, I know what it looks like. Nah, it changes. So the first round, the first generation that came out, they were called e-cigs, e-hookahs. It looked like a cigarette, about the same size, shape, cylinder-ish. Young people tend to not gravitate to, they didn't gravitate to those too much because it was cigarette-like. They seen the commercials with the woman with the hole in her throat for years. They knew it was bad, so they stayed away from that for the most part. So I only have like maybe 1 or 2 of those at my desk from the duration I've been at the county office, and that told me that young people got the picture. Like tobacco's bad, so even if it's in electronic form, if it looks like a cigarette, it's a no-no. Next group you have are wax pens and vape pens. These are still around, and actually they're pretty prevalent. So a vape pen is where you add your own e-juice in. So that little bottle of liquid, you add it in physically on your own. And then a wax pen is where you buy a cartridge, usually the top portion of it, you buy from a dispensary, and it has THC, concentrated THC, that actually gets young people high when they use it. So these 2 products are still around. You'll see different variations of it for size, shape, but we're still seeing young people use these. And this is what I'm still getting in on a regular, especially now that when cannabis became legal recreationally, we started to see more usage with young people of THC cartridges in schools. And I'll touch about content a little bit later. So the next group was mods. These ones were bigger, bulkier. I still have a handful of these. These you wouldn't find on the shelves at the corner store or the gas station or the drugstore. These you would tend to have to buy at a vaping shop or online and kind of build it, put it together yourself. They tend to be expensive, $100, $150, $200 because you customize it, put it together. And ultimately, most of them had buttons on the top or on the outside to where you regulate the heat. The higher you make the voltage, the bigger the cloud you got. So if you've seen people like driving down the street or walking, you see this big plume coming from their face, it was probably because they were using a mod. And young people are definitely straying away from those. I haven't gotten one of those in years. And then the last group, the one that we see 9 times out of 10, are pod systems. Pods have hit the scene and taken on like wildfire. The first pod system was Juul, and because they came out and they were successful with their design and the content, other companies started jumping ship and doing what they did because of the quote unquote success, which kind of turned the vaping world on its head because young people were actually coming down with vaping before Juul really got out there, and now its trajectory went back up. So pod systems are the #1 product that is used by young people, and the #1 in the pod world are disposables. And as you can see from this chart, it shows that young people who are using vaping products, disposable had a great uptick from 2019 to 2020. So disposables are the #1 products that young people are using, and I'll explain why shortly. So if we're looking at these products, they have 3 different forms. So when you're looking at pod systems, the first generation or first pods that came out were closed systems. This is Juul, this is My Blue, this is a Fuse. These ones is where you have the device that you recharge, and the pods that you buy separately have the liquid in them. So when the e-juice is done in the pods, you throw the pod, you pull the pod out, throw it away, buy a refill or buy another pack of maybe 2 or 4 pods. They only fit the device that the company sells it. So My Blue only fits My Blue, Juul only fits Juul kind of thing. So those were the first generation when we're talking about pod systems. Then they had open systems where the pod would come out and you add the liquid in similar to you do a vape pen. So you add the liquid in yourself, a little bit cumbersome. Young people kind of like, I got to carry my device plus some liquid. So they kind of wasn't feeling that too much, but there are a few that's still around. I just got one a couple of days ago of this version called Smock. And so those are where you fill in, you add the juice in yourself. And then the last group, which is all the time getting through, we have dozens in our office. It's scary. Are disposables where you don't recharge them, you don't refill them. They come with a predetermined amount of hits. When you're done, you just discard them, you throw them away. It made it super convenient. It made it easy, made it cheaper for our young people. And so this is where they're moving to. Now, outside of the price and the convenience, what happened was when they, in 2020, Trump signed a tobacco ban banning the sale of flavored pod systems. So Juul, My Blue, Fuse, those ones who had the pod, the closed systems, they could no longer sell flavors. And so because of that, young people moved from closed systems over to disposables. And we're like, come on now, why don't y'all just close that gap? Why don't y'all just make it like where there's no wiggle room? And so that wiggle room was disposable. So around 2019, that's when they started picking up and we started seeing them come across every school site. And so disposables are still the #1 product that young people are using when we're talking about pod-based systems. But we have a victory coming up, y'all. Give me a second. I'll get there. So when we're looking at pods and their contents, in comparison, we always kind of bring it back to a pack of cigarettes, right? So a pack of cigarettes has 20 cigarettes in a pack. It's illegal to buy any cigarettes packs less than 20. In those days of us older people who were born in the 19s, there's no more Lucy's. Lucy's are not allowed no more. So if you want a cigarette, you have to buy a pack of cigarettes. One pack of cigarettes contains 20 cigarettes, which is equal to about 20 milligrams of nicotine, roughly 1 milligram per cigarette, right? So if you looked at a Juul pod, because they don't have cigarettes, they have juice, they have the e-liquid, it's measured in milliliters. So a Juul pod is very small. It's equivalent, though, to 41 cigarettes worth of nicotine. And the sad thing is a pack of cigarettes on average is about $8 to $10. A Juul pod hovers around 4. So you're getting twice as much nicotine for half the price. And so this is when we started seeing those addictive behaviors kick in, where young people had to dip out of class or they needed to go to the bathroom because they're consuming large amounts of nicotine. And then 2019, as I said, Puff Bar came into play, the first disposable I started seeing in the county. That's equivalent to 50 cigarettes worth of nicotine because, as you can see, it has more milliliters than even a Juul. So as the milliliters progress higher and you get more liquid, that means you actually get more nicotine content. And then right before we went to shelter in place, I want to say March of 2020, I went to one of our sites and the principal was like, hey, Derek, you ever seen one of these? You ever seen a Puff Bar Plus? I was like, no, I haven't. So I had to look up that information. It's about twice the size as a Puff Bar, still disposable. It has, a couple hundred hits in it, and it's averaging less than $15. A Puff Bar Plus, if you use one of those, is equivalent to 125 cigarettes worth of nicotine. I see this upward progression. I know right now it hurts the heart just to watch it. And so last year, as we kind of get back to school full swing, I'm interacting with the high schools and middle schools, and I go to another one of our sites, and a VP confiscates a flume from a student. I'm like, I never heard of flume. She's like, well, here, you ever seen one of these? I was like, no. So I had to go back, do my research, found out it's like 8 milliliters of liquid. It comes preloaded with 3,000 puffs. On average, it's between $15 and $20, and it has 5% nicotine salt. So I'm like, how much nicotine is that? It kind of like, I didn't know because it was new. So I had to send this information to our connections at Stanford. I'm like, hey, could y'all run the numbers and kind of get us back to us and let us know how much nicotine is in these products? And so they ran the numbers, did the equation, and did the test, and sent an email back and said, Derek, because this product has 8 milliliters and it's 5% nic salt, one flume is equivalent to 400 cigarettes worth of nicotine. I went, are you serious? That is insane. That's an astronomical amount of cigarettes in one product. And this is the most popular product that I'm seeing young people use today. I have uh, over a dozen of these at my desk, from color ranges from orange all the way. I have the rainbow. I could put them together and show you a snapshot. So this is what we're seeing in middle school and high school. And the crazy thing is, that's not even the biggest product out there. I've seen ones that are bigger than a flume. And so now we're seeing this aggressiveness of the tobacco industry to get a cheaper, streamlined, convenient way of getting nicotine to the next generation. Okay. So in that, I have another poll question. Looking at these, I kind of gave you a hint to it. What do you think the average cost is for some of these products that are out there? So let's go to this one. All right. So, what do you think the cost is for these two products? Go ahead and take that poll for us real quick. How much do you think they're hovering far as the cost of these products that are out there? Take this poll for a quick second. See if you can kind of catch what young people are doing. Okay, okay. Once again, I remind you, this is in hands of middle school to high school. It's not just high school, middle school and high school. Okay, I'll give about 10 more seconds. If you're Googling the price, you're cheating. Just want you to go off the top of your head. Just, what do you think? Go with your gut. Go with your gut, what you think it feels. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop it there. And let me share these results. So the first product, product A, which is a puff bar, like I said, first generation, is about $10. On average, it's about $10. Depending on, and actually, that one right there, that banana ice, by the way, is like a unicorn. You can't find that everywhere. So some young people were selling that for more. So they might sell it for $12 to $15. But on average, most of them are around $10. Like I said, they're disposable. They get caught with them. Young people wouldn't really care. It didn't break the bank. A Jewel might run you $50 for a starter kit, but if this thing is only $10, they get caught, they get confiscated. I'll just go get another one. That's a value meal at, you know what I'm saying, at one of the fast food places. They were fine with those being lost. And then the flume, like I said, they're hovering around $20, between 15 and 20. Usually $20 is the resting spot. So these are the, like, some of the main products that we're seeing. And as I said, middle school, high school, we're seeing them show up in the hands of our young people, and sadly also in the hands of elementary. We have found fourth and fifth graders who are using them. So these are the prices of what we're looking at. And then just to show you what else is popping up in the county, every one of these products on the screen we have seen ourselves. Actually, we have at our desk. So Ezzy is very similar to a Puff Bar. It's about $8. Bang is a little bit bigger than the Puff Bar. So that's about $9. Air Bar, Hype, those are like the mid-range sizes. And then the last three, Flume, Big Boy, Lucid Air, those are on the bigger side of the disposables, where they have upwards of 8 milliliters of liquid, 15. I actually have one on my desk. The largest I've seen, it had 20 milliliters. I'm scared to find out how much nicotine that is, because that's a whole lot to consume. It looks like a perfume bottle. So this is what our young people are using. And as you can see, they're gradually getting bigger. And so we have to be not only on the lookout, but to make our young people aware that these are dangerous amounts of nicotine that they're consuming. So in that, as we're looking at the products that are out there in the market and that young people are using, I got to throw another question to one of our Courage members, Ahana, who's very studious and intelligent. And at the same time, I'm going to be voting for her in some form when she gets old enough. I have the question, Ahana, what tobacco products are you seeing being used by youth in your area?
So someone who's in high school, I think the number one products being used are probably Bloom bars, Puff bars, anything that are very like small and competent that you could really like keep away from teachers. And the reason why I believe this is because that most kids that do get addicted to something, they're not going to want to have it taken away. And retailers are often targeting kids by making these new flavors. Um, they make new flavors to target kids so that when they're older and they want more, they go back for more. At the same time, these products are also cheap, so cheap products that also taste good will have an increase and they'll want to go back for more. Um, Flume may be also popular just because of the prices, but there are also like 3,000 puffs per disposable. So that's enough to get someone addicted to it. Thank you.
Yeah. Ah, ah, hurts my heart. Hurts my heart that you know this, but we do need to get this understanding from the lens of the young people. So yeah, the prices, the flavors, the convenience, and young people are getting them fairly easy. Whether they're selling them amongst themselves, actually, the number one way that young people are getting them is directly from the stores. They walk in and ask somebody. It's the days of, oh, you're gonna get yourself a fake ID. It's not necessary. We're finding. I've talked to young people across the county. They say, hey, I've been going to this corner store my whole life, and my friends do. They just walk in and ask for it, and they sell it to them because they know they live here. So sadly, young people are buying them directly from the store. And as I said, during the pandemic, that wasn't really an option. You couldn't say, "Hey, mom, dad, I'm leaving out. I'm about to walk down the store, get myself a puff bar, and I'll be right back." Now they didn't want to get caught, so they were less likely to go venturing off into the neighborhood with masks and everything to forward their addiction. So many of them were forced to quit. Okay, so thank you, Mina, Hannah, for sharing that. Now, when we're looking at young people, those high levels of nicotine is it's not something to play with. This is something that we have to be attentive to, and the importance of teaching and educate our young people because the developing brain is where nicotine enters in and it replaces what we think is necessary. So young people's brains are developing up to the age of 25. And so as you're looking at brain development, it goes from the back to the front. So when you're looking at young people, when we're toddlers and babies, motor skills and trying to not bump into walls and walking with our feet, that's what develops first, our physical coordination. Then when you get to the center of brain, you're looking more at that middle school, adolescent time, emotions kicking up, start to cry a little bit more, songs hit you too close to the heart. I know I dropped a couple tears to Boys and Men. That's how it works out. So your brain is processing how you feel more in those middle school years as you're developing and understanding your emotions. The last part of your brain to develop is your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision making. So when you introduce nicotine early, it impacts that brain development and it replaces what it thinks is necessary for survival. For some young people, using nicotine early can enter in, and your brain will be convinced that you need nicotine as much as you need water or food or sleep. And so we highly recommend and we endorse and we teach that young people don't try nicotine definitely at all, but definitely not before the age of 25 because you're increase your chances of using this for a lifetime. So that's the brain development. And when we're looking at the body, nicotine, I'm sorry, not nicotine. When you inhale the aerosol from these devices, those chemicals that I said was in the aerosol, they leave a residue, like a buildup of film inside your lungs. We've seen there's been rapid lung damage because of this. There's a condition called EVALI where people have had severe lung damage from vaping for even a short amount of time. So there's lung damage, there's residue, there's chemicals that cling to the inside of your lungs. When it comes to your heart, nicotine actually makes it pump and puts more stress on the heart. People use smoke or use vaping products as I need to calm down, I need to relax, but essentially it actually is increasing your heart rate and adding to the dangers of that. There's ear, nose, and throat irritation. They actually have a condition called vapor's tongue where sometimes the oils from the product might get on your taste buds. You can't taste food. To me, that's like crazy. I need to taste my Big Mac for real. So I wouldn't even touch that. And then last one is, as I said, the brain development. Young people's brains are ripe for addiction. The scary fact is 1,300 people die every day from tobacco. It's not a quick thing, it's over time. And for 1,300 people who pass away, the companies still need to make money. So they need 1,300 replacements. They're not looking for a 30, 40, 50-year-old person to pick up the habit. They're looking for a young, impressionable, underdeveloped brain that they can let their products get into the hands of. And in it, they become a customer for a lifetime. And this plays out statistically. Adolescents who vaped were more likely, were 4 times as likely to go to report cigarette smoking. And I found this to be true. I've spoken to young people, and some of them said, "Yeah, I was vaping for a while. I realized I was addicted, and I was trying to quit. but I didn't know how much I was going to wean myself off. I didn't know how much I was using. Like, you can't tell from the device how much liquid, how many puffs you take because you're just doing it all day. And so some of their solution is like, well, hey, let me buy some cigarettes. That way I can count how many using. So if I use 5 today, now try and drop down to 3 tomorrow. Like, that was their solution. And sadly, they're doing the opposite of um, what they designed vaping to be, but there's no vaping product that actually is proven to help people quit smoking. So in this, we're seeing a uptick in youth using combustible cigarettes or tobacco because of using vaping products. So we talked about the stress factor, and then the flavor factor is another reason why young people use. There's over 15,000 flavors on the market. Anything you can think of, they turn to a flavor from a pastry, candy, breakfast cereal, drinks, anything that sounds good, there's a flavor. We Google flavors every now and then to see what's out there. I'm always shocked. I just did a training today with a bunch of young people. I said, hey, raise your hand if you know somebody who vapes. Hands go up. And I say, keep your hand up if you know what flavor that person used. They'll say cotton candy, Skittles, blue raspberry, cherry ice, strawberry. They'll name all the cotton candy, all these things that sound awesome. It sounds good. And we're not, don't just limit it to the student that's been skipping class or not showing up in school, or the bullies, the ones that, the ones we kind of see in the movies, like, oh, that's the bad kid with the thing hanging out the mouth. No, this is all demographics. I'm talking AP students, athletes, chess club, Harry Potter, all of them. They've been using vaping products. So we got to look past just saying it's just a certain group of population, young people. The flavors are they attracted. Young people brag about it. And as you can see, this is a plethora of flavors that they have out there. Hulk Tears, a girl actually told me her dad vapes Hulk Tears. Like, are you serious? So clear, all of these. So this is what we're seeing, and this is what young people share when it comes to the products that they're seeing come across. Now, with that, I don't want to give all sour spots. We have a highlight. So because California is awesome and people know about the business, Prop 31 passed yesterday, or sorry, Tuesday. Passed. There was a victory in this that upheld that California essentially they voted to say, hey, flavors are bad. Let's remove them from vaping and other tobacco products. So we celebrated that, and I want to say in 2020, and then the tobacco company rallied and got enough signatures to throw it to the vote. But California's like, nah, I don't even care. We're going to uphold what it was put in place in the first place. So SB 793, it prohibits the sale of certain flavored tobacco products. It will limit it in a lot of arenas, especially in vaping. So that means the goal is, the way this translates, young people don't like the natural taste of vaping and tobacco smoked. They will probably move away from it. So hopefully I won't have a job soon. That's the goal. Yay. So props to Prop 31 pass. We have victory there. We get to celebrate that. We were celebrating in our office. Like I said, confetti and stuff. And you're like, woohoo, it's a bunch of woohoos. I'm a woohoo person. Okay. So in that, as we're looking at flavors and we're looking at tobacco, vaping products in general, we do have to look at the other side when it comes to vaping THC. So these products look very similar to your pod systems and other ones. You got to be aware because they're small, they're convenient, they fit in pockets, they fit in the palm of your hand. You would never know. So some of these on the screen, the ones on the left or the top one, the Kingpin, that is a cartridge that you would get from a dispensary. The one beneath it and the other two on the side where you have the cake, which is the black one on the bottom, and then the other one, I forgot the name. Those are disposables. Those kind of kicked up during the pandemic. We used to only see cartridges, but during the pandemic, companies started making disposable THC cartridges for pods. And so when you're using a THC vape, it has similar effects to smoking. People feel that high, that loftiness, that forgetfulness, that lack of coordination skills. The sad thing is it doesn't smell like cannabis. So just when it comes to vaping those other flavors, like if you had blue raspberry, it smells like blue raspberry. So it's a little bit harder to detect, especially in the classrooms. And so when we talk about the vaping and THC, it doesn't smell like traditional tobacco. And as I'm speaking of this now, it's harder to detect on campuses because young people can pull it out their pocket, take a hit, and the cloud may come out big and maybe white. You might be able to see it from a distance, but it goes away very quickly, making it hard for teachers and staff to be able to identify what young people are using. And they have different techniques. Sometimes they'll take a hit and they'll blow it in their shirt. They'll take a hit and have their backpack on the desk. They'll blow it in the backpack. And then the worst one is I've heard them take a hit and they'll hold it in so long that nothing comes out. It's called ghosting or zeroing. And you got to imagine all those chemicals in the aerosol that's residing in their lungs because of it. So these are some of the products that we're seeing. And then there's high concentrations of the THC. So please be mindful. If you know young people who are using THC vaping products, they have a high concentration of THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol. That's the chemical that gives you that high feeling. And so, just to set kind of like an understanding of it, when you're looking at cannabis, usually the most popular forms that young people are using, they're smoking it, which you have as you on the left, you have like a blunt or a joint, or they smoke it out of a bong. Then you have edibles where you consume it, and edibles can be anything. We use cannabis is what you call highly soluble. So because it melts easily in butter, you can make whatever. And every time I talk to young people, they tell me something that they're saying. I'm like, they made that into an edible. I think the last one that kind of threw me, they make Encrustables. You know, it's a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a little wrap pick. Yeah, edible. I know it's scary. So those are edibles. Those hit your body at a time release because you have to digest it. And then you have cartridges. And as you can see, Stizzy is a very popular brand, but they make them also attractive young people. There is a popular brand called Mario Karts. I have one at my desk right now, and that's what it looks like. The packaging and that the cylinder cart on the side is what's on the inside, and that's what you take out. You screw it into your universal battery for your wax pen, and young people are good to go. So to kind of scale this so you can kind of get an understanding when it comes to THC and cannabis, hippies smoked that back in the 60s. Some of y'all know, you got friends, might have been yourself, and we say, hey, we used cannabis back then. You had that conversation, right? But the cannabis that they smoked in 1960 is a lot different than what we have now, or way less than what we have now. On average, the THC that was in the cannabis in the 1960s is about 1% to 2% THC. Now, did people get high? Yeah, that's why they called them stoners. But you got Scooby Dooby Doo, right? So they were getting high with that 1% to 2% THC. You wouldn't be like sitting down giggling at, SNL for like hours, but people would get high. It worked, right? When you're looking at today's cannabis, because they've been crossbreeding, they have grow operations, they're taking a female plant, mix it with a female plant because it's a lot stronger. Now, over a couple of decades, the THC on the street level cannabis now is about 20 to 25% THC. Now, that's a huge jump. It's almost a completely different drug. And so, as we're telling people, young people, to be mindful, this is not the grandma and grandpa smoking THC that they had back in the day. This is a lot more potent. So that means a young person who's smoking it, lighting it up, and burning it, it hits their system pretty strong. And so when we're looking at vaping it from the THC portion of it, it's even more. So looking at these products, you might say, well, how much THC is in there? How much are we looking at? How much are young people using? Well, looking at the products, on the package, it tells you how much THC is in there. If you bought a cart, the first cart or a pod cart, the ones that you get from the dispensary, they start out at about 40% THC. So that's almost double what you would get from combustible flower. So it's about 40% THC. And so as we're looking at the ones that young people are using now, and all three of these I got they are on my desk right now. This one, a Stizzy, is 86.5% THC. I'll give you a couple of seconds to clutch your pearls. I know that's ridiculously high, no pun intended. If we're looking at the fires, 90.3% THC. Then of course you can kind of imagine the last one, the fireman, is 91% THC. A young person could pull this out their pocket in class, take a couple hits, put it back in their pocket, and minutes later they're feeling effects of that THC. This is very potent, concentrated THC that our young people are consuming, are pulling into their lungs, and they're having effects hit in. We've had quite a few incidents where bodies or young people's bodies have been over impacted by it to where they need medical attention. This is high levels of THC. We have to warn our young people because this is what almost the new norm is. This is what we're seeing on a regular. Okay. So in that, I got to pull in another one of our Courage members to give us some breakdown of what's good information. So I'm going to ask Sharus, can you tell me, sir, how do you think when we're talking about cannabis, we're talking about vaping, we talk about all these products, how do you think an adult should talk or adult? How do you think an adult should approach or talk to a young person they suspect are using tobacco products?
Hi, everyone. So I think that an adult or a parent who thinks that either their children or someone they know is using tobacco products, I think instead of being confrontational and being very direct with them, I think that they should be more like conversational. They should definitely have talks with their kids and they should definitely be like understanding. I think that kind of what Derek was saying earlier in the presentation, if kids, especially at a very young age, get access to these tobacco products, that it conflicts with their development of their prefrontal cortex, which is their decision making part of their brain. And this is why I feel like parents at a young age should educate their kids on the seriousness and the consequences of using tobacco flavored products in general. But of course, like this question is asking people who are using them. So it's kind of a little too late for that. But I still think that it's important to still educate them, because I know many people who I am friends with and people who I know who engage in these with using these types of products. And I feel like they just don't know the consequences because no one has really educated them on those topics, which I have tried my best to help them with. But I think it's different coming from a friend rather than a parent. I think parents have a lot of influence, but I don't think that it's responsible and smart for parents to just ground their children, to restrict them, because kids and teenagers, they want what they can't have. So if you restrict um, tobacco products, it's only going to make them want it more and find more ways to just be sneakier about it. So I really just think that being like conversational and understanding why they're using it in the first place, whether it might be mental health problems, the people that they surround themselves with, I think it's better to work with a solution rather than just, oh, you're grounded, you can't go out with your friends anymore, because then they're just going to be mad at you and they won't understand you, and it'll just grow more resentment. So I think it's important for a parent to really understand the perspective and the point of view of their children and why they're using it in the first place.
Nice. Hey, I like how you said non-confrontational and like not coming in like waving a finger like, "Arr." In my mind, that's how parents sound when they're out there. "Arr, yeah, me doing that." But no, in that, he's right. You want to have an engaging conversation and have an open door, because in it, these products are not like what we know from traditional tobacco and consequence driven. As you said, it'll drive our young people to do it more or become more stealthy when it comes to these products. So we have to be mindful as adults on how we engage our young people. So our response when we're looking at the use in the county, as I said, is still an issue, not just here, throughout the country. Here's how we address the issue from the TUPE lens at the County Office of Ed. We have tobacco-free schools policy, which all the schools have in the county. In the districts, it prohibits the use of tobacco products, including vaping devices with or without nicotine. We used to have that argument with young people like, oh, the product I have doesn't have nicotine. Doesn't matter. It's a vaping product. Oh, it has melatonin and chamomile and it's healthy. If it looks or mimics anything tobacco related, it falls under that policy. So if a young person has something that even looks like you're inhaling and exhaling, I don't care if it was like a water gun. If it looks similar to a vaping product, it falls under that tobacco-free schools policy with or without nicotine. So that's one step that we've done. And then this applies to staff, students, visitors. You can't have somebody who's on campus who works here say, hey, I'm an adult, I can do this. Back in the days, we had smoking campus, smoking sites, sections on campuses, school campuses, no longer. We want to set that a positive example for our young people. And so this is not something, this is something we put in play when it comes to tobacco-free school policy. And then we also offer alternatives to suspension. We offer intervention cessation groups, because when they suspend students for vaping or using tobacco, all they do is go home and use more. And we don't want that to be the ongoing thing to where they have a consequence where they can do what they need to not be doing. So in it, we always recommend to our school sites, our districts, that hey, we offer plans and programs so where you can help our young people have the support, sit down, have conversations about what addiction looks like, and if brief intervention moving into that cessation is something they want to do, we want to help them explore it and give them the tools. And then through our program, our 2P program through the county, we cover all bases here, folks. So we have our classroom-based curriculum. So for those 11 districts we work directly with in our tier 2, they have curriculum that we teach in middle school and high school to give them information not only about tobacco, vaping, other drugs, refusal skills, all those kind of things. So we give them information about the products and what they can do as alternatives. And then my program, which I said, I work with youth development. As you just heard from these wonderful Courage members. They're from the Youth Health Coalition, which covers and spans a whole county. Yay! And then I also work directly with school sites, training students on each campus to teach other students, not the youth. So we have our youth development program, which is alive and well. So if you know a young person in middle school and high school, certain districts, talk to us. They might need to be on Team Tupi. Yay. And then we're looking at the intervention and cessation as we have on our team. We have Marissa Frias, who is our intervention specialist. She helps coordinate and teach and train sites to have somebody on campus to work with young people who are caught using and to help them, like I said, investigate and explore what addiction may look like or what their life looks like in contrast to what they're using. And then we have staff professional development. We do trainings with parents. Of course, we're doing this webinar tonight, as well as teachers and on-site security, police officers. We train people who are working with young people so they can be aware of what's out there. So we'll go to professional development days, or just pop in when they let us. We'll pop up on a school site and just get some information. And then, of course, family and community engagement is what we're doing right now. We like to have parents informed so you know what your young people are using, and what they need to have as far as the support on a home base. So they get support from the county office, at their school site, and at home. So for you being here tonight, kudos. Yeah, you're invested in your young people. As an adult, we had a couple tips for you if you're working with your young people. Have that conversation. As Sharu said, he didn't even read this slide. He just knows. Yes, do not be confrontational, because if you do, if you're critical and you come off too strong, like I said, this is not like cigarettes where it's concrete. Oh, we've known this for years that this is bad. Vaping, we're still learning. We don't have the evidence of long-term data. We have to express to them what we know. And so you want to have an open conversation, a dialogue. Be patient and ready to listen, because you got to keep the conversation going. It's as simple as this. After you're done here, when we're done with this training or this webinar, you can turn it off, turn to a young person like, hey, I just sat through a webinar about vaping and products. What do you know about them? And let them tell you what they're seeing, what's happening on their campus. They'll probably know more than me because they're in the middle of it. This generation is being impacted for it. So, but just have that open conversation, not be confrontational. Have credible information. Us through the county office, in a second, I'm going to share resources on the next slide that you can use. Please get credible information, because you can Google stuff and it's going to be conflicting, or it might come from the opposite owl of people who are supporting vaping. You want to share information that's credible. So we're going to give you a couple websites you can go to that can give you all the information you need to be able to share with the young people. And then, of course, set a positive example. If you're trying to show your young people that vaping is not what you want them to do, you can give them information, or you can give them information as well as modeling it, what you shouldn't be doing, right? Just tell them it's not normalized. When we make things regular and it's okay, that's when they take it on and see it from a different lens. And then reach out for support. If you need us at the county office, we're more than happy. And also, we have Marissa Frias, and she created what's called Conversation Starter Kit. There's conversation starter cards. So if you have difficulty navigating that conversation with a young person, contact our office. I think there's an ordering link. There we go. Look at Chelsea. She's on top of it. We have a Let's Talk Tobacco Conversation Starter Kit. Click that link that's in the chat, and you can fill out a form, and we'll get you a set of cards to where you could just read this one, and you and your young person have dialogue. If you're a parent or if you're a staff member on your campus, it's always good and handy to have, especially if you have difficulty starting in that conversation. Okay. And then, as far as our resources that we like to share, us at the county office, there's our website, cccoek12.ca.us.tupi, or if you just Google, put in CCCOE and Tupi, you'll find our website. We have, of course, credible information on there. And then we have a crisis center at Contra Costa, a Contra Costa Crisis Center. If you're looking for young people or people who need help in quitting, that's available. Kick It California is another program that helps people who are trying to get off of using tobacco and vaping products. And then if you're looking for some strong content, information, in depth, the Tobacco and the Cannabis Awareness Toolkit from Stanford, we use all the time. That's the curriculum we use for our high schools, and it's free. It's a free resource. Go to them. Definitely research wonderful information, and they have enough bells and whistles that it make you like, hey, I'm hip and I know stuff. Okay, you might not say it like that, but you get the picture. Okay, so those are the resources we share with people to go to. They're credible, they're awesome, and we use them all the time. And with that, I would like to say thank you for being with us this evening. We appreciate your investment in your young people. That's why we're here. And then if you get a chance, you got a phone, could you click that little QR code, scan that, and fill out the survey? Let us know your feedback for this evening. Or I think we might be able to drop that in the chat as well for the survey if you aren't able to QR code that. Yep, there we go. There's a survey. Click that. And we're going to hang around for the next couple of minutes just in case anybody has questions or I'm not able to see the Q&A in the questions asked. So I'm actually somebody throw those out there. But yes, if you fill out the survey, that'd be wonderful. And then if you want to hang around for us to answer a few questions, we will be here. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Boom. There we go. And then, oh, now I can see the questions. There we go. Did we answer any of them as we went along? I know you're all super, oh, look at Mina's ready. Okay. I'll read the first question as we're going through. Is there any possibility of fentanyl to end up in one of these vaping devices, especially concerning with the rise of fentanyl at this point in time? I'll let Mina attack this one first. I'll add on to the end.
Okay, so to answer Jeanette Ortez's question, it's extremely possible. There's many fentanyl-laced vapes on the rise since fentanyl is extremely powerful and can even be lethal in small amounts. So the possibility that vapes can be laced with fentanyl is extremely scary, but the synthetic opioid is extremely strong. So if it's ingested, sorted, or even comes a risk of, and most of the time buy this vape don't know that's particularly laced, but they get it from an illegal site, like a friend online or through a drug dealer at their campus or someone who actually didn't know. So the possibility of it being laced is actually very dangerous, but possible.
And thank you, Mina, for adding that. She's correct. It is a possibility. Just about anything that you can burn and combust can go in a vaping product. The positive is we aren't seeing that on. I haven't seen that in the county, I think, ever at this point. So that's a positive. Not to say it's never happened, but we're not hearing reports of that across the county because fentanyl is a very dangerous drug. But yes, as Mina said, it is possible to be in this product mixed in with the e-juice and aerosolized for sure. Okay. And I'm gonna let Emily handle the next question. It says, wait, hold on. I missed it. Okay. What happens to a student who gets caught with a vaping device? Are there differences in the consequences of vapes containing tobacco versus cannabis?
So this is a wonderful question, and Derek started to touch on this a bit in talking about the tobacco-free schools policy, which all of our school districts in Contra Costa County are certified tobacco-free, meaning that they have existing policy that prohibits use on campus. And embedded within policies is the recommendation that that we employ alternatives to suspension for tobacco-related offenses. And one of the reasons for that is that research has shown that suspension isn't enough to address the underlying issues that a young person might be facing. And so we really encourage and we work alongside with districts and schools to try and implement a variety of intervention options. Now, keep in mind that requires having staff on campus that are trained, having the processes in place. So implementation might vary district by district and school by school. I do want to share now, and I will drop the resource in the chat, that there is a newer resource at the state level that's supported by the California Department of Education. It is a program called YVape, which is a alternative to suspension program that is run by Kick It California, formerly known as 1-800-NO-BUTS. They have decades of experience helping young people and adults quit tobacco use, and they've rebranded with the rise in vaping, and so they can actually address and have trained coaches who can support students whether they are vaping nicotine or cannabis. One of the challenges is that we don't always know if the device is nicotine or cannabis or THC, and we might not have the capacity to do the testing. So we approach it, we're going to provide intervention no matter what. If it is known that it's cannabis, then the school district would look to their policies that relate to that. I will drop that resource. YVape schools can register, and we're working with schools to register for that service, because then they can refer students at no cost, ages 13 and up. So yeah.
Okay. And I think that was all the questions. So I'll be on here for a couple more minutes, just doing a little dance, sing a little song. Not really. I thank you all for joining us. Hopefully we're able to get you the information you needed. We thank you for being here. And as always, if you need any information around tobacco use prevention, if you have young people who have questions or they need support, please reach out to us at the county office. We're more than happy to support you and your young people. And then, yes, as I seen another question in the Q&A was asking about young people in different parts of the county is the education being taught. We have a comprehensive program in 11 of our districts where we train students to teach other students, and they actually do school presentations, classroom presentations. They do great work, and in it, we're able to expand the reach of prevention. Oh, I see another question came in. So why vaping devices and disposables are so affordable? E-cigar is not high taxed by the government like regular cigarettes. Vaping devices have dropped over the years. They used to be, like I said, it used to be kind of expensive for some of these products, especially if you're looking at the liquid as well as the device. But now that the disposables are what young people are going towards, and they're convenient, they're cheaper, so they're easy to make. And then, of course, you have a bunch of knockoffs. And so this is where young people gravitated to. We were hoping that that wasn't the trend. And then, of course, when you're looking at the high content of the nicotine salt, talking to young people, we found that, yes, it's something that really hits them and they start to exhibit those addictive behaviors. And this is where we have to step more into getting them to understand what addiction looks like. So, yeah, sadly, the industry will find a way to let young people use in large droves, and dropping the price has been a way that they've been able to do that over the years.
And also a note on that with regards to taxation. So Prop 99 was the initial tobacco tax applied to cigarettes. And for many years, that was the only taxation on tobacco products. But California voters passed Prop 56, which increased the tax on packs of cigarettes by $2. And then there was a not equivalent, but there was taxes added for things like e-cigarettes and vape pens as well. So there is some funding that comes from that to that goes to prevention education as well as research and policy.
And then somebody asks, are you seeing any nicotine gum use? No, nicotine gum use is a cessation device. Nicotine gum and nicotine patches are proven to help people get off of tobacco, stop using tobacco. Vaping was designed to be that, but there's no product that's been proven to help people quit successfully. So in that, nicotine gum use is usually what people are using to quit. Young people aren't buying that. Not only is it expensive, but it's you wouldn't use it unless they were. I mean, I haven't seen young people use it. We haven't seen young people be caught with it because not only is it expensive, but it's usually for people who are trying to quit. And we give them education as well as support, whether it's Kick It California and other things, resources to help them wean themselves off. Yeah, but we haven't been seeing young people with nicotine gum use. And how many milligrams of nicotine are in one hit? It varies. We could say like with any smoking or vaping, inhaling, how long you hold it, how much you push it into your lungs, it varies. Far as how frequently they go through these products, that also varies. We have found young people can use a puff bar in a day. Sometimes heavy users, maybe a puff bar plus. And then on average, I'm hearing young people might take a week to go through a flume. But the still scary thing is a flume is equivalent to about 20 packs of cigarettes worth of nicotine. So that's like 20 days, and they can use that in about a week or so, which is, very tough because they're getting a lot of nicotine in. So, yeah, it varies from person to person, how long they take a hit, product, the battery, all of that. There's a lot in there. So thank you. Awesome questions.